Okay.
Okay,
Here, since you're taking the video.
so we're dealing with three primary layers of the skin here. The epidermis is this upper part here. The dermis is here. And the hypodermis is here. And underneath that is, fascia, muscle, bone. In the epidermis, you have, it's all stratified squamous. We're not going to ask you to differentiate, the various layers on this model because it's too hard. The basal you can make out. The basal is really distinguished, at the base, where it meets with the dermis, and you can pick out the stratum corneum as well up here. This highly keratinized section, and the other part you can pick out is the stratum lucidum. It's this thin yellow line here, which is found on palms of your hand and soles of your feet. The other two, stratum spinosum and granulosum, are going to be somewhere in this purple area. You won't be able to pick it out. Okay, there are, the vivacity of the epidermis is pretty much, is high at the stratum basal and then becomes progressively lower, progressively deader as you go higher. It's basically keratin is like a fibrous substance that fills the cells, and as it fills the cells, it dries them up and they die. And so, I don't know if you mentioned, but everything you see on a human body is dead, essentially, including your hair. There's also melanocytes here, and dendrocytes. You can't see them. Moving on to the dermal layer. There are two sections of the dermis. There is the papillary layer. It's about 20% here. Papillary referring to the papilla here, the nipples. It put it up against the stratum basal. The second aspect, about 80%, is the reticular layer. And that's going to be your dense irregular. So, dense irregular, if you remember, is a bunch of collagen fibers moving all about. Enables you to move your skin around like that in every which way. So in the papillary layer is mostly nerves and blood vessels, the nerve plexa. Nerve plexa, we'll call them plexus for now. You see here, these might be your Meissner's corpuscle. You remember that's kind of, indiscriminate touch. And then just the various blood vessels. Are there any open-ended nerves here at all? I don't think so. Not in this model. No. Okay, another aspect of the dermis are the various glands. You have eccrine glands here, and apocrine glands here, and sebaceous glands here. The way I remember to differentiate between eccrine and apocrine is eccrine is going to be your sweat gland. It has salt in it, and salt is white, right? And apocrine is going to be in your pubic regions, and like the PowerPoint said, it produces a musky odor. And also, when you wear a white shirt too often, what happens to the armpits? Turns yellow. So that's how I remember the difference between the two. And then sebaceous is producing sebum, which coats the hair, and it is holocrine, which means that pretty much the entirety of the cell breaks up to produce the sebum. The hair itself has three sections. The bulb here, which is the living section. The root, which is pretty much everywhere leading up to the surface, and then the shaft, which is that which is exposed. In this model, we're not going to ask you too much about the various layers of the hair, but you have your medulla in the middle, your cortex, and your cuticle, which is the outermost of the innermost aspect of the hair. And then the outer section of the hair, which is essentially this purple and pink part, going to be your like internal epithelial root sheath, external epithelial root sheath, and glossy membrane and such. And that's what you're seeing in your hair. Then down to the hypodermis, yellow, clearly adipose tissue. And this big nerve right here we'll call the Pacinian corpuscle. That's for deep pressure. I remember that P, profound, profundo if you speak Spanish, means deep. And Pacinian starts with P as well. And I think that's it. Questions? And this model